Hey everybody, I'm Steph.
I'm Michael.
Today we're checking out Lacrimosa.
By DeVere.
Yes.
Check out the shiny box. It's got the shiny red box. The little spot UV on it, I guess.
It's very pretty.
It's very pretty.
Yes.
So, this game is about completing Mozart's last unfinished work, right? And so you are one of the wealthy patrons who are hiring up composers to finish the Mozart's last work. But as you're doing all this, you're moving Mozart around the map. It's sort of reliving his journeys as he goes from place to place. And based on what he does, you will earn bonuses from that. You will also be actually composing the final work on the bottom of the game board and earning area majorities for the different sections of his last work. And so basically to do all that, you are going to be playing cards from your hand, and you will either be playing them for their actions or for their resources at the bottom of the card. So you get these dual use cards going on. And there's a market that you will have to negotiate, which as time goes, as cards are purchased, then things will get cheaper and cheaper as you go. Most victory points at the end of the game will win. Anything to add, Steph, before we get to the teach?
I mean, it seems pretty good.
Yep.
Let's
So,
take a look.
let's go ahead and do the overhead. As you can see, as Jelfia mentioned earlier, I see this is another tan and taupe game. Yes, it is indeed a tan and taupe game.
Yes.
And like a lot of Euros, it's not a lot to look at, but really the gameplay is pretty darn fantastic. So each of us has one of the double layer player boards. Each of our story point tracks, I believe it is for composers. What is it? I want to make sure I get this right. Oh, Mozart's talent counters, which are the black ones, the journey counters, which are the red ones, and composition counters, which are the white ones. We have that set to a value of 2, and we do not have any permanent counters, just our temporary counters. I have $10. Steph has 11, but I've got the magical tuning fork, which means I am going first. We have also populated the board with several of these. I want to get the right name for it. City tiles. Each of these cities on the map will have these small city tiles. The large tiles in Vienna and London and Paris, those are the royal court tiles. These will give you end-game bonuses if you can compose these compositions. Some of them have symbols on them. Some of them have period designators on them. There are 5 different periods from 1 to 5. As you can see on this card, this is a period 1 card. So sometimes if you see on these tiles, if you see a 1 and a 2, that means you have to have a 1 and a 2 in your collection and unsold at the time in order to get the bonus points at the end. Anything with these wax seals means victory points. Now, the interesting thing about these tiles is you cannot use an opus multiple times for multiple of these royal court tiles. For example, let me pull out one of these here, like the 1 and 2 example that I mentioned earlier. Let's say I had, actually, these are portions down here in in the
Wow.
in the work. Sometimes things will be in the work. Actually, I can give the example with this instead. If you have one of these strings here and a choral composition down here, you will get the 5 bonus points. But let's say you also had this. If you do also have this, you're going to need an additional 2 string parts. So the one that you have here is not enough. You're going to need 2 more in addition. Alternatively, you don't score for this one and you do score for this one. You must choose.
You only have 2, right?
Well, yeah, if you've only got 2, you're not going to be able to do them both. As Steph was showing on her board, you've only got enough resources for 2 string parts. We're going to get into that in a minute. This is probably easier to show if I do something like this. If I have an opus in period 1 and 2, I'm good to go. But if I've got one that says 2, 3, and 4, I cannot use my opus from period 2 to also count for this. You can count it for one or the other, not both. Easy way to fix that is to just get 2 from period 2, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, easy, not so easy.
Some of them will also show types of compositions. You will see some that are symphonic, some that are opera, some that are, oh, what are those called? I believe that is like a string quartet sort of thing. So be sure that you have one for each of your symbols. You can't have a period 1 opus that is symphonic and also count for the other tile. So if you will shuffle these up, Steph.
You've got more.
Oh, I do have more. Thank you. When you place these out on the map to refresh them and at the start of the game, notice you are going to be dealing these off the top of the stack, and you want to deal them in order. There is an order to each of these cities. You might be able to see in the corners of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So you'll want to go in that order each time. And this is important because at the end of each of the periods, these will be refreshed, and these are indeed face up. You might say, well, Michael, why are these face up? Because they are the same symbol on the other side, but slightly increased bonuses. You'll notice that this one, for example, would give you 3 of the journey piece. Was it journey?
Discs, yeah.
Yes, journey discs. On the other side, you'll get 3 journey discs. Oh, and wait, also 1 coin and 1 victory point. So you're going to reveal information whether you have these face up or face down. So just be sure when you deal off the top, you deal them off in order. And hey, this is going to be a little bit of extra information for somebody whenever the next tile is going to come out. It's going to be one that gives 2 of any type of token. Hello, Bree. You missed our top 10 where we were talking so good about the Lucky Duck games. 2 of them made my top 10. Woohoo! So, Mozart starts off in Salzburg. When crafting the deck, what is this deck called? This is the Opus and memory cards. You are going to remove 2 Opus cards and 2 memory cards from each period. You're going to separate them into period 1 cards, period 2 cards, period 3 cards. You're going to take one of these hard tiles, put them on the top of all of the period 1 cards, shuffle them up. If you're playing a 3-player game, you're going to remove 1 opus, 1 memory. If you're playing 2 players, you're going to remove 2 opus, 2 memory. And shuffle up all of the rest. Now, which is going to be used for this first period. So the first thing you do, place the region bonus tile face up here, of which there are several of these. It's not going to be the same every game. What this means is when we play travel cards, we're going to get a bonus point at the end of this period. That's going to be pretty darn awesome. And then you're going to fill up, what is this, the market? It is, it just says you're turning them on and filling up the card row. I don't, maybe there's not a name for it. Why, thanks for following Jungler Agadon. Now notice this is an opus. You're going to place everything with an opus so it's on the bottom of the space. Notice how it makes a little composition graphic at the top. Anything that is not an opus is going to be a memory card. Those are going to be on the top edge. And look, we have exactly
shuffled this. This is crazy.
We have exactly 2 of them.
That's awful.
In the expensive positions.
Oh my god.
Notice down here at the end, memory cards are only going to cost 1 of any of these story points. Down here at this end, what is it? 4 gold and 2 of the story points. So they're super expensive down at this end and super cheap down on this end. Whenever purchasing Opus cards, you're going to spend the top portion, and it looks like you're going to get a little bit back on this. You'll notice that cards that symbols that are in red mean you're going to lose them. Symbols that are in black mean you are going to gain them. Notice, lose 1 of the Mozart's tokens and 4 coins, and you'll get 3 victory points. These are in red, these are in black. I'll explain a little bit more about all of these as we get into the actions. We have a victory point track going around this way. Notice that there are several roads leading to locations from spot to spot, and those are going to cost a certain number of coins to travel on those roads. In every game, you're also going to have 2 composers. They normally recommend that you start with, who are those composers? Eibler and Stadler. So they recommend that you start with those composers. We are going to use Freistadler and Zusmeyer for our composers. Down here at the bottom, you will organize all of these into their correct locations. For example, there's only 1 token for Freistadler. For the Kyrie section, you will normally organize these from cheapest to most expensive. For example, these tokens are exactly identical, except that one of them costs 1 composition token and 3 coins. One will cost 1 composition token and 4 coins. So the further down in the stacks you get, the more expensive they are going to be. So, excuse me, how do I take these actions? Well, we have, Steph and I each have a total of 9 memory cards.
You'll never have more.
You'll never have more. You've got 1 book and candle and 2 of the other ones. Book and candle are going to be where you're basically, it looks like you are late at night writing in your diary, because this is going to get you new memory cards. The one with the book and candle on it. Anything with the, you're going to have 2 of the composition ones. Those are going to allow you to compose new opuses. These will let you either perform or sell opuses that you have in your possession. We have the travel cards that will let you travel Mozart around the map, and you have, I believe this is called the Requiem card that will let you craft Mozart's final Requiem. And that's down here at the bottom of the board. Let's talk about these in detail. So, it's called document memories. That's what this is called. It will allow you to choose one of the memory cards from the main board. You're going to pay the cost in ducats and story points. You're going to discard the card that you placed in your story section from the game and replace it with whatever card you select from the memory row. Now, you might say, well, what is the story section? What you're going to do on your turn, notice, remember I said you're going to have 9 cards. Notice on your board, you're going to have 4 cards to start. So, I'm going to shuffle these up. I'm going to draw 4. These are my options. So, if I wanted to take the document memories action, I'm going to slide this in my dual layer board. Look how nicely it slides right in there. I'm going to take this action. One of these 3 I must take and put in my story section. And I'm going to get, at the end of the period, I'm going to get whatever this bonus is. Well, it looks like it's all the same here. What I want to make sure of is that maybe I want certain icons in my deck and certain icons out of my deck. Let's say I'm not going to focus a lot on creating new compositions. I can put this down on the bottom like this, and that I will not be crafting compositions with that card for this period. Now, if I'm going to do document memories, I'm actually going to take this card out of my story section and throw it away and put in whatever memory that I have documented, and I'm going to put that instead here in the bottom. That's how you upgrade your cards. Notice this new memory, it's the same as that other document memories, but I also get one of the journeys story points and 2 coins. Now notice this journeys has a cube on it. That means I'm going to get it over here on my story point track. These are temporary and only last for the period. If you actually saw a disc on it like this, that means you're going to get these actual tokens, and those will remain in your possession from period to period, and you spend them just as you would a normal story point token, except you're spending the permanent tokens instead. Obviously, the permanent tokens are better than the ones that are not going to last. Anyway, that is how to upgrade your 9 memory cards. You will always have 9 memory cards because remember, I threw out one to upgrade it to this one. And Steph was a little bit concerned because all of the memory cards are super expensive.
Way over there.
They're way over here to the left. So that is document memories. Normally you're going to just put the card down in the story section and reap its benefits at the end of the period. Only for document memories will you take that out and trash it to get a new one.
Yep.
Have wheel will travel. That is correct, Joe. Are they decomposing composers? Yes, we are actually. Normally it's Steph that has issues with remembering the name of things. So there are a lot of things there's a lot of iconography, and I just want to make sure to give the correct name out of respect to the game publisher.
Yeah, I'm not good at that.
So this is it's not composing an opus, it is commissioning an opus. You are commissioning an opus to be written. So if I want to get any of these fine opuses from the card row, I'm going to want to do this action. So I'm actually going to have this on the top here. I'm going to put one of my cards here on the bottom for the story side. It doesn't matter which one, as long as I've got one there. And I'm going to commission one of these opuses. Notice you've got some that relate to religious works. They've got the little prayer hands on them.
Thanks, Dan.
Oh, the plural of opus is opera, but that would be confusing. Yeah, if I said if you want to purchase one of these opera, it might be confusing. Opii, no. We have actually, to be fair, you're supposed to say it.
To be fair.
To be fair, this is actually called an opera card.
Yeah, this is called the opera card.
This one in particular.
That would be particularly
Confusing. So yeah, the prayer hands is religious music. This one is opera.
Opus Pocus.
Opus Popus. This one is chamber music. That's the string quartet that I was talking about. It's chamber music. And this one is symphony. So those we have all four types right here. How about that?
Yeah. You are required to listen to Mozart when you play.
When you play this game. Now, it's important to note that the prayer, when you perform them, are not going to give you, they're going to require you to invest some effort and will give you nothing for performing them. However, something like this chamber music will not require any effort from you, except you're going to get 3 coins for it. So depending on what you plan on doing with the work, whether you plan on getting these bonus tiles with them, or whether you're going to be performing them a lot, or if you're going to be selling them, which you can also do, it's going to influence which of these works you want to purchase. Let's talk a little bit about performing and selling music. Notice that you've got the little guy. Steph calls this guy the vampire guy.
He looks like a vampire.
He totally looks like a vampire. But this is perform, and the other side is sell. Notice each of these opuses opera each have a perform and a sell. What you're going to do is you're going to spend this number of story points, obviously the black ones in this case, either somewhere between 0 and 2 usually is what I'm used to seeing. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if the period 5 are much, much more expensive, but you will spend this many story points in order to get this benefit. If you perform them, you are going to basically tap this sideways that shows it has been used for this period, and you can't perform or sell it again this period. Now, if you are to sell an opus, you're going to get so much in your purse, which, Steph, if you will show where that is going to increase the amount of money and victory points and story points that you get at the end of the period. In this case, 0 purse, which is not great, but
no, you get fame though.
But you're going to get victory points for it.
Yeah.
So it depends on whether you want to get something, get something for to increase your purse, or to increase your victory points, or to increase your gold. Anyway, if you sell, it is gone permanently. You can't sell an opus that you commission. You can't sell it twice. No. He's the Phantom of the Opera card, indeed. So, fourthly, we have the travel card. This allows you to travel Mozart around Europe in order to collect the city bonus tiles that is on the map. You're going to place your travel card here, a story card here, and then you're going to pay an amount of gold to move Mozart as far as you want. Notice all of these costs are in gold. If you want Mozart to remain where he is, all you have to do is spend the journey points, the journey story points that is on the city bonus tile. Now, this is not going to be particularly helpful to us at the start of the game because it says the number of the strings performances, the chamber music, the number of chamber music pieces that you own is going to be worth that number of victory points times 2 for each. So that's probably going to stay here a while. But let's say I wanted to go up here to Berlin. I would spend, you have to sort of look for the best route because you might think you know the best route. One time, each of us has corrected the other of us saying, you know, there's a shorter route. And you're like, what? So once Steph found a shorter route for me and once I found a shorter route for her. So it's easy to miss something. Something that looks longer might not be. So that's 1, 2, 4 going this direction, 2, 3, 4 going this direction. It would cost 4 gold to get up here and 1 story point to take this and immediately cash it in for whatever it says. You can't hold those till you want them. You must immediately take those now, along with any bonuses that come along with it. If I went over to Vienna and took one of this royal court tile, I would just place it down here and save it till the end of the game.
Yep.
And you do not have to assign things to it immediately. You can just build them up over the course of the game. Last but certainly not least is the Requiem Action. What you'll want to do is you'll want to choose an empty instrument space on your player board, one that has not already been used. You will then take, let's say I chose this string one because I want to get a quick and easy journey disc. I'm going to take this piece, my wooden piece. You notice it's got a quarter note on one side and 2 of these eighth notes on the other side. The quarter note corresponds to whatever this top composer is, and the eighth notes is this bottom composer. Oh, one quick note. I forgot to mention this during setup. It's super important. It says that you have to take out the composer tiles that have 3 and 4 points on them if you are not playing with 3 or 4 players. It does not mean 3 or 4 victory points. There are actual dots. I think it's a mistranslation from the original German, perhaps. But when they say 3 points, they mean 3 dots.
Yep.
So you're taking out the 3 dot and 4 dot tiles, not the 3 point and 4 point, meaning victory point tiles.
Right.
Just the dots. Anyway, if I want this tile here, this tile corresponds to Freistatler. So I want to place this on the quarter note side, not the eighth note side. All this does is determine which of the composer's tiles you are using. So remember, I took this from the strings. I'm going to immediately get this, even before I place this, at least according to the rules, the step-by-step, there was some confusion as to whether I could use this gold to, you just shifted the camera, Steph.
I'll fix it. You keep going.
Whether you could use this 2 gold in order to purchase these tiles, best I can determine is that is as intended. I think we're missing this side of the board, unfortunately, now. So I will place this on either of these string spaces inside Sequentia and take the corresponding tile, placing it on the spot that I vacated that piece from. You can flip it over to let the bonus be more easily read. For example, during phase 3, which is our maintenance phase, I'm going to get 1 story point cube of my choice. Steph trying to fix everything. Now, you might say, well, why does it matter to keep track of which one that you use, the quarter note or the eighth notes, for whichever one of these composers that you decided to use? I will fix this board manually, Steph, because it is still off. I think I have to rotate it a little bit as well. I apologize, everyone. It's still a bit off. Anyway, this is for area majority. So for every one of the matching notes in this section, whichever composer has the majority, you're going to get 4 points per token in this section. So let's say Steph put down her little tokens here, and she has 3 from the other guy, from Zusmeyer. She is going to get, let's say she has 3, she's going to get 4, 8, 12 points. I'm going to get 2 points for my wimpy little Freistatler. So you want to try to get majorities in each of these sections. Notice it's 3 for the leader and 1 for the second place on the Kyrie section. Sequentia is obviously a big section. 3 and 1, so it's 4 and 2. 3 and 1 for Offertorium. 6 and 3 for Sanctus. And 3 and 1 for the Agnus Dei, which is the end of the Requiem. Now you'll notice there are a lot of rest notes on here. At the start of the game, we chose a random Constance card. I guess Constance is somebody that was influential in his life. I am not quite sure. I believe it says what it is in the rules for those of you who like theme. These rests will be placed on the instruments shown on that card. There are 5 different cards, so 5 different ways that these can be shut down, and it does scale on based on player count. So if you're wondering what those rests are, they're just spaces that are unavailable, and those are determined randomly at the start of the game.
Dan says his wife.
Oh, Constance was his wife. Thank you, Dan. They didn't have very good cameras in Mozart's time to get good color photos. That's why.
That makes sense.
Dan has linked to the article for Constance Mozart. Very cool. Each of these will give a certain bonus. Obviously, the 3 different types of story point discs. One will give you an instant purse. One will give you a victory point. One will give you 2 coins. And one of them will give you a neutral player marker. Why would you want to use this? Well, you could put your quarter note on the horns, and then this can go anywhere in this same section. Let's say I know that Steph has the pipe organ spot available on her player board. Maybe I want to A, shut her down there, and B, strengthen Frey Stotler's position for this section of the Requiem. So you'll place both of these at the same time for this bonus. So that basically covers all of the actions. Notice that during the main phase, you're going to draw up to 4 cards and play 2 cards. We're going to go back and forth like this, drawing 2 cards after each action. For the last one, you're only going to be able to draw 1 card because that's all the cards you have left. Notice 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's your 9th card. You'll only have 9 memory cards. So for your last thing, you're going to have 3 cards left in your hand. You're going to place 1 in your experience section, 1 in your story section, and you're going to keep 1 for the next round. Hello, Time Roller. After we have done 4 actions for the main phase, we are going to do the personal boards step, which is sort of a maintenance step. First, take all your storyboard tracks, put them to 0, because whether you've used them or not, they are now gone. Then you will add up all of your story point things that you have already placed for the previous period, and you will basically add up all of those story points. So you might not have what you want for the next period. Hopefully you have gotten enough tokens to mitigate that a little bit. Then you are going to get composer rewards. The composer rewards, like I had mentioned earlier, for example, the one that lets you get 1 story point cube, which means to advance 1 of these cubes. Let's say I move this up right there. After that, you're going to get your finances, which is somewhere between 0 and 6 gold, perhaps 1 to 3 victory points, and possibly 1 extra story cube. If you ever have to advance on the finances track and you can't go up any higher, hey, that's 2 victory points for you right there. If you ever have to advance on the story point track and you can no longer do so, that's an extra piece of gold for you. Ducat, excuse me. Should use the correct terminology. Next, you're going to get the period bonus. Take a look at how many times you used travel in your experiences this period. Each occurrence is going to let you get 1 victory point. And these, like I said, these are random at the start of the game. Finally, you're going to do cleanup, which means take all your cards out of your board, shuffle them all up except for the one you had left over, and draw 4 new cards.
Well, up to.
Up to 4 cards. Then phase 4, we're going to fix the map. Anything that was not taken before, whether they're the small city tiles or the royal court tiles, you're going to flip them over to show the gilded side, and that makes them each more valuable. Then you are going to refresh the positions, remember, in order from 1 through 11. Finally, you're going to take these automatically move down every time something is purchased, whether it be a memory card or an Opus card. But during phase 4, this main board phase, we're going to take these 4 cards, we're going to get rid of them, scoot the other ones down, get rid of the remaining phase 1 period 1 cards, and notice this period 2 tile, see, it's a tile, not a card, you're going to put this for the new period bonus. We don't know what it is yet because it's whatever it is, it's on the other side. And you're going to fill up the rest of the row with period 2 cards. So there will be a few period 1s left over and then some period 2s coming in behind it. Whoops. I'll turn that over. And that is basically it. We're going to lather, rinse, and repeat for 5 periods. Then we are going to... I'll get to that in just a second. Thanks for reminding me, Steph. At the end of the game, we are going to count up the Requiem scoring for the majority scoring. This is always at the end of the game. You're going to see if your royal court tiles will score. And finally, every 2 story point, either cubes or the discs, are going to be worth 1/2 point each. Basically, divide by 2, rounding down. And ducats are worth 3 for 1 point. And then see who is the winner. There are some anytime actions you can take, as Steph mentioned here. At any time, if you don't want to take the action or actions on a card, you basically ignore everything that's on this part of the card, and you will get a number of ducats equal to the period number. That's not a lot. So we're talking somewhere between 1 and 5 ducats. Probably not worth doing unless you absolutely have nothing else to do. At any time you can spend 3 gold to get a story point disc. Also at any time you can spend 1 story point disc to get 1 point. It's important to note you cannot spend a story point cube to get a gold.
That would be better, yeah.
Only a story point disc.
Yeah.
I believe that is fairly comprehensive.
Yep.
With everything. You'll notice some of these, especially these on Agnus Dei, are going to give you additional actions. This means anytime that you take the commission and opus action, you get to take an additional commission and opus action. However, you have to have the money to pay for both opera. Look at that, me using the right terminology, plural terminology.
Doesn't sound good.
It doesn't sound good.
Yep.
Steph has got the little cat jam from one of our favorite. What is his name? Somna music.
Yep. All right. So I think that is the rules, and so we will come back with the gameplay in just a moment.
Yep. And if you're watching this after the fact, find our video for this playthrough.
Yes.
And see how we did. We're gonna play it
right now.
We'll be right back if you're following us on Twitch.
Yeah.